Hello and welcome to the Hardcore Casuals podcast, the podcast for the working class geek that's too hardcore to be casual, but too casual to be hardcore. I'm Adrian.
I'm David.
I'm Danny.
And man, there's lots to talk about today, lots that we have on the docket. Everything from the Disney Fox merger to Star Wars: The Last Jedi, to you guys were talking about Destiny. So I obviously want to really rip into Star Wars right now, but I want to let you guys talk about.
So yeah, before we even
go there, exactly.
Before we go into anything, let's just first say we three of us just finished watching Star Wars, so we are going to get into our impressions of it. But there's some other news that we just want to get into first.
Like, I don't see the relevance, but fine.
You have to talk about the news before. And anyways, we just saw Star Wars. We need you to let it simmer. The cauldron is bubbling. It's like it wants to spew forth like a vomit, hatred, toxic waste dump. I need you to let it simmer. I need you to just like play with it and take it for a ride. Put it in the back seat and just drive it casually.
It wants to.
David's
come.
leaking. Adrian's
it wants
leaking
to come
all
out.
over the place.
I'm leaking out of every orifice.
I can tell. I can see it. When we left the theater, I had to restrain you. I had to close your mouth before it would all come pouring out.
Okay,
Which is a rare occasion. Usually he's opening it.
I don't see you complaining, bitch. That's right.
This has been the Hardcore Casuals podcast.
Danny can't talk because he's eating right now. Danny, so dedicated to the podcast that he has dinner at the same time he does it. So, okay, well, yes, I definitely want to talk about that movie, but let's go ahead. I give the reins over to you, David, the all-powerful. You lead us to Valhalla while I simmer.
While you're simmering your whiskey.
As long as you're simmering. Look, what do you think about this whole Disney merger with Fox? Because the other day we were talking about it, and I thought it was kind of illegal for them to be pulling it off. That it just seems like Disney's taking over the world. And because I'm looking through it.
Mouse,
I haven't looked through. I haven't looked through all the data of it. But my first thought was, okay, if Disney owns Fox and Fox owns Fox Sportsnet is the only competition to ESPN. How can Disney own both of those? That sounds like an antitrust problem right away.
Exactly.
Conflict of interest?
I don't see how legally that's possible, but I've seen other mergers happen that are totally, fall under antitrust issues, antitrust laws, and basically, form a monopoly. And that's the thing. I mean, there's the law, and then Disney has a shitload of money. They're gonna pay off who they need to pay off, and buy the votes that they need to buy, and it's gonna happen. Unfortunately, you can't. I'll be very surprised. I think it's illegal. I don't think it should be done. I like having competition in whatever market there is, but I just know how corrupt the mouse is, and how much money they have, and it's probably gonna happen.
They probably have like a third-party company somewhere, and they'll say, okay, you are now the owners of whatever, Fox News or whatever, just to keep that, if it's even possible, legally to separate it like that.
It looks like a bunch of the films, the Fox channel, FXX, and a bunch of the shows that are associated with Fox. It looks like they're buying all of that. And it just doesn't seem to make sense to me. This means that, say, the X-Men could join. I'm reading off of Polygon right now.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah,
that the X-Men could join the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But what's interesting about this is that for a long time now, Marvel and I guess Disney have been trying to segue out the X-Men because it seemed like the X-Men were never coming into Marvel again, so they stopped saying mutants. I don't know if you guys knew about this in the news.
Yeah, that's like really old though.
Yeah,
Bitch, please.
well,
that's really old news.
No, that's like 2 years old.
Well,
but
no. They had made it. They had somehow freaking copyrighted the word. Fox did the word mutant. So like, Marvel or Sony couldn't use that word.
Oh, wait a second. Here we go. On the TV side, 21st Century Fox will retain ownership of the Fox Broadcast Network, Fox News, and the cable sports network Fox Sports 1. I guarantee you that was to avoid monopolies.
There you go. But, I mean, what other forms of entertainment? The thing is, I'm... And we could get into this when we start talking about the movie we just saw, but...
Oh, yeah. Look at this. Look. Sorry to interrupt you, but they make a good point here that by taking in the X-Men, they're opening up the story potential of what the current not Infinity War. What's Civil War? Is not Civil War.
No, Infinity War. It's Infinity War. It's coming up.
No, the one that not the movie in the comic books that just happened, where Doctor Doom is basically like Manhattan, like taking over the entire space-time continuum.
Oh yeah, where he's like the center. He's like at the head of all the universes, and
yeah, it's like he rewrote it. Yeah,
he's become so powerful that now he's not even evil anymore. He's like, crap, I'm top of the food chain. What am I gonna do now?
Exactly.
At least that's what I last saw.
He's rewriting like all the different timelines of the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
And now by Fox being brought into Disney, Disney can make Doctor Doom back into the Avengers and all that kind of stuff.
Wait, I'm sorry to interrupt you right now, but back on that tangent, are they? I've been out of the loop on as far as comics are concerned for a while now, but what you just described is what DC did with Dr. Manhattan in the New 52. That's what it sounds like.
That's kind of what's happening with Doctor Doom.
Dr. Doom?
Yeah, that's why I said he's
Doom
like...
out of all people to be like
No.
What?
The thing that's going on DC with Dr. Manhattan is that they're saying that the New 52 world was created by Dr. Manhattan on a whim in one of like the very, very earlier comics.
Yeah,
the thing that's going on with Dr. Doom...
One of Dr. Manhattan's last thing was like, when he says he's going to leave, he's like, I'll probably go and create life somewhere. And
he ends up making the New 52, and that's why everyone's like WTF mate, and now...
So what is Dr. Doom doing?
Now Dr. Doom, he's basically in a different, like David was saying, he's like a completely different universe of his own, where it's like his own empire. He's the top of the
Doomverse, if you will.
No, because what happened in Marvel is that they take their multiverse and then they have a giant battle. And then the winner of the multiverse, it's like all of them collide into one battleground. I think that's what they called it, something like that.
Holy shit.
And then whoever wins, like whatever universe comes out on top of this becomes the new prime universe. Yeah. So it's like Spider-Man is Peter Parker and Miles Morales in two different worlds. So through this thing, you have the two of them teaming up, doing stuff together because they're like, hey, you're Spider-Man, I'm Spider-Man. Gwen Stacy, you're Spider-Girl. And they're not supposed to live in the same universe, but through these comics they do. And what happened was Doctor Doom in some universes is bad, and in some universes Doctor Doom actually embraced the light, and he was trying to find a new hope for mutant kind and all this kind of stuff. You see what I did there?
I see what you did there. You embraced the light, and it was a new hope. Star Wars. Okay, all right, go.
So then that's what happened, and then when everything collided, he's the one that kind of started to rewrite and reshape the future universes. So he's like he's the manipulator of all worlds now.
And when did this
start
happening?
That was the last one that just happened recently.
I have been out of the loop on that shit.
They just started basically their new prime universes after the big collision.
DC was kind of doing that with the whole conversions line, where they had just multiple universes, and it was a Brainiac. I can't say clone, but he was like Brainiac had created this program to oversee his domain while he was gone, and while he was gone, this dude just became self-aware and started doing his own crap. So he created, similar to what you were saying, of all the universes, of all the multiverses, you had multiple Supermans, multiple Flashes, all in like this giant battleground where it's basically, all right, you guys get to fight it out. And it's like,
and
right.
Superman won.
Pikachu.
All of the Supermans win.
It's like the moral of the story is Superman wins. Which one? All of them.
All of them.
The answer is yes.
Wait, I was just saying that for shits and giggles. Am I right?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay. I was like, shit, did I get that right? It's been a lot of right now. I just did that on a whim.
No. I honestly don't even remember who won because it was so convoluted, but...
We gotta get Matt in to talk about shit like this.
What ended up happening was
Telos he would be the one to tell us.
Telos realized the error of his ways, and he's like, whoops. And he just reset everything because he's like, damn, I did something stupid.
So aside from media monopoly, if this happens, we may get a better Marvel universe. You're saying, David?
It seems that way because that would be kind of cool. Because then you have Doctor Doom, you have Galactus, you have some other parts of the X-Men world.
But is it worth having the mouse control everything? I mean, listen, I'm with you. We watched Star Wars today, and again, the Infinity War trailer was there, and I'm not sure if I made a comment to you. If anything, I made the comment in my head. But I'm like, you can't have the Infinity Wars without Silver Surfer and some of the other cosmic entities. Yet there's not. So, and one of the reasons is because of what you just said.
This whole merger opens up a lot of possibilities for proper Marvel movies moving forward. I mean, it all depends. We still have to go through 4 Infinity Wars. Along those lines, between the what do you call it? The ink dries on the piece of paper that finalizes everything till Infinity War 4. What's going to happen? What's going to happen between then?
Well, that's this is what...
Will we see Hugh Jackman don the claws again in one of those movies?
I thought he said he was done with that.
No,
now he's making freaking musicals about P.T. Barnum.
No. He said like after the 3rd movie that he was done. I'm sorry. After Days of Future Past, he's like, I'm done. He saw Days of Future Past, and he's like, you know what? I have one more in me. And if they ever do an Avengers, I would love to come back for that.
I would love to see Wolverine in Avengers.
I would love to see Wolverine in fucking...
That was... Yeah. I mean, that takes me back to, my little toddler days when I was... Not toddler, but, when I was a little kid and collecting my little X-Men cards and reading the comics at that time, and Wolverine was right there alongside Spider-Man.
So what happens if we watch Infinity War, and after the credits, we have a scene where it shows Samuel L. Jackson saying, Logan, I would like you to join the Avengers Initiative. And you see, shink, that's the pub.
No. You just see him at a bar. Fuck you.
That's very Logan of him.
No. It would be like, you see the gauntlets, and just like in that Jason movie, you just see like the claws slash down and just pull the glove away or some shit.
Oh God!
Like Freddy did to Jason's mask way back in the day.
So David, what you're saying is that although another monopoly will be formed, and Disney will be this one step closer to actually becoming a proverbial Death Star in media, at least we'll get better Marvel movies.
Disney is Thanos. They are trying to assemble their gauntlet of every media company until they own everything.
Oh, very good.
It's like Disney is Thanos with the glove, and they're like ABC, Fox. Next it's going to be CBS, then NBC, and they're going to be like, we're done. We own Viacom, we own everybody.
Puts a smile on my face.
I would hate if Disney controlled so much freaking media, man. Because I mean, what Disney did with Star Wars, I don't want them to do with other things, please.
I'm just concerned with them doing crossovers and spin-offs and all that kind of stuff. Like, we got a Kingdom Hearts in the cinematic universe where suddenly we have Thanos and Mickey Mouse in the same world. Or,
oh my God. Thanos, Mickey Mouse, and Sephiroth fighting it out. Oh my God.
Or, look, imagine if the Guardians of the Galaxy are flying around and they pass by a planet and they're like, oh, what's this planet? Oh, that's Tatooine. And you're going to go, oh, no. I'm telling you. You're going to see. They're going to end up doing some of this kind of shit, and you're going to be like, oh, fucking hell.
And then they probably would, because, again, we're talking about the same people who thought it would be a good idea to do a standalone Jabba the Hutt movie, which is going to happen. There's going to be
the standalone Han Solo movie.
Well, that's more understandable. Look, listen, I'm not a fan of these standalone movies that they're doing. Rogue One was a piece of flaming shit, aside from, like, maybe 10 seconds of it. And then, okay, a standalone Han Solo movie... I could understand. A standalone Obi-Wan movie, I could understand. A standalone Boba Fett movie, I could understand. Who the fuck wants to see a standalone Jabba the Hutt movie? Seriously.
A standalone Yoda movie.
I want to see that.
I would rather see a standalone Yoda movie than a standalone Jabba the Hutt movie. That's just like standalone Trooper 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 movie.
The standalone Jabba the Hutt movie is probably just a porno.
That would make more sense. If it was a star porn movie, then fine.
Porno wars.
Oh God! But I think I put that on our Insta the other day about, like, seriously, like, forget a standalone Jabba the Hutt movie. Use the funds for that to make a film about Knights of the Old Republic and put Darth Revan on screen. I'd rather see that.
Like,
Jabba
there's a lot of things that Disney can do. And they're just looking to milk as much as possible. And that's the part that's kind of sad. Because they've seen the amount of money they've gotten.
Yeah, they are raking in. They're like Scrooge McDuck right now. with the money they're reeling in just from Star Wars alone. And it's sad because they could put out either something good or something bad. Regardless, you just put the name Star Wars on it, and
You sounded like Obama. They can have something good or something bad.
I just want to make something perfectly clear. Disney can make something good, or they can make something bad. You're just gonna pay Star Wars on it, and in comes the money, which we should tax the rich for. I just want to make that perfectly clear.
Oh, Obama.
That's not my bet. I do better. I think I'm too drunk right now to do a good impression.
As you should be.
No, I'm always drunk when we do these things. 2 days go past. I'm like, oh, we did an episode? What did I say? I have to re-listen to the whole damn episode. Like,
I'm not always drunk, but when I am, I'm podcasting.
I'm podcasting. Yes, fans, for all three of you out there, I am always drunk when we're doing this.
Yeah, that's the only way we can get quality entertainment out of you.
Can you imagine you listen to yourself and all you hear is and it's just like David and I, dude, calm down.
That's what I hear whenever I listen back.
That's what? So my mom's a Murloc. Fuck you guys, man.
Your mom?
But I think it's gonna be pretty cool that we could see Galactus and some of that kind of stuff.
Aside from just like a shadow of him on a planet in a really shitty sequel.
It's just I don't understand how they're gonna twist everything. The Doctor Doom thing makes sense to me, but the whole thing with Thanos, that was supposed to be like the ultimate villain. To defeat an unbeatable guy with the Infinity Gauntlet was supposed to be like the pinnacle of enemies. I don't even think Galactus, being the World Eater or whatever the shit he's called, is on that level because Thanos is so
Devourer
difficult.
of Worlds. Actually, no. If I remember correctly,
He's not Leviathan.
This is one of those times I really do wish we had Matt, our comic book expert,
Our resident comic
in
book
here
expert.
to either substantiate or to refute what I'm going to say. But I do believe that like Galactus would without the Infinity Gauntlet, Galactus would totally pwn Thanos. With the Infinity Gauntlet, then maybe you got like a good match going on. But Galactus is on another level.
Well,
he's pre-Big Bang.
You just reminded me, speaking of like all these extra people coming into different cinematic universes and all this stuff, how the hell did Steven Spielberg get Ryu, the Battletoads, all the different licensed people
The Overwatch character
into his
The
movie?
DeLorean?
Yeah, Tracer from Overwatch. The
Akira
DeLorean,
bike.
didn't he have something to do with Back to the Future? I thought Steven Spielberg was like a producer on Back to the Future. Was he not?
No. Ready Player One. That trailer looked so good.
Yes.
And it's the
Yes.
first trailer I've seen of it that actually showed the story, because every other trailer was just like, hey, look at me, I'm some dude who goes into VR. And I'm like, what is this, Dot Hack?
There's
It
only
looks like
one
Dot
other
Hack.
trailer.
But
And
no, there's been like 2 or 3 other trailers, and they're all like super low
I
on.
definitely have not seen that.
They're
I've
all
only seen
super
the
low
one
on
from
story. This is the
Comic-Con.
only one that's had significant story, where it's like, this is what he's after. This is what it's about.
Yeah,
this is the goal. Like, everything about it, that was a well-composed trailer that made me say, oh shit, this movie does look entertaining.
You mean a succinct plot summary? Yes, it had a good one. And
Unlike all these other fucking trailers, like I was commenting during the movie, where it's like, ba, 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 ah, ba, 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 run! Da, 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 da. That's what trailers are nowadays. And I'm
oh my
I'm
gosh.
done with it.
Well, first of all, Ready Player One, plot looks good, and we could probably revisit this when the movie comes out and we watch it. But just from what I've seen in the trailer we saw with The Last Jedi, that is a appropriate use of CGIing everything. When you're going into like a VR world, that's totally fine, and it's part of the experience. But whatever. I think I mentioned that to you while we were watching it. But
Yeah, but that makes sense.
yeah,
It's
exactly. It
not
makes sense.
It's not like all these other movies like Thanos that are all
Purple Minion?
purple CG Shrek. And you're like, what the fuck? There's no point to this. Why don't you just put a guy in his purple suit and have him walk around with his golden plated armor? But no, he has to be CG. Spider-Man has to be CG. Fuck you, Spider-Man doesn't have to be CG. What is that?
Well, you want to know something? Aside from him being CGI, I finally realized why Thanos. I think I talked about this. He didn't seem so threatening before, and I finally realized it when I watched the trailer again when we were watching Last Jedi. It's his eyes. He actually has human more humanoid eyes.
I guess, yeah, he's supposed to have
And
those
in the
white
comics,
eyes.
yeah, he has the big like lifeless white eyes, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that.
But he's also wearing like that tiara.
Well, yeah, he has the helmet on, which also, but I mean, he just doesn't feel like Thanos to me, and it stinks because again, to me, I love the original Infinity Wars, and I love Thanos as a villain. One of my favorite villains when I was growing up, is, you know, given what he accomplished during the comic Infinity Wars, and to finally see him on screen, it was a big letdown.
But Ready Player One does look like it's going to be pretty good.
Indeed.
Now, how about Jurassic World? We saw the trailer for Jurassic World.
That does not look very good at all.
It makes no fucking sense. When Jurassic World came out, I was like, why? You had 3 movies that defined if you introduce dinosaurs to humans, bad shit happens. Not just once, not just twice, but it happened 3 times. And yet now you make a freaking theme park again, and guess what happens? Things go bad. And now there's a 5th movie where
Things went bad because they decided to splice some genes and make something new that went completely haywire and berserk, and well,
still, don't do
reasons.
Well, that was the
premise.
That was the premise of the first Jurassic World, whatever, last one that just happened. Because Chris Pratt and everybody around the park were like, whoa, we have it working right now. It's good. Why are you fucking around with the formula? They're like, oh, we need to. It makes sense. We want to please our shareholders. Raptors. We need to have bigger, better stuff to bring people in to come to the park to come see our attractions. So the plot of that movie made sense. The plot of this new movie makes no fucking sense whatsoever.
No, this one makes even less sense because now you have after 4 movies, 4 episodes of which there was massive casualties of human life, and now nature for the second time is selecting the dinosaurs, to use Jeff Goldblum's words. Nature is selecting them to become extinct again, and now they're opting to do a fucking rescue mission to save a species that went extinct once and is going to be extinct again.
Well, he didn't say anything about selecting anyone to survive. They just said that they were natural survivors.
How many times have you seen Jurassic Park, dude? He says in the scene
in the first
when they're
movie,
having
okay,
lunch, when they're having they're having the grilled sea bass. Okay, they're having this grilled sea bass, and Malcolm is saying that nature selected dinosaurs to be extinct, that they should not be introduced into the modern day world.
No.
Okay,
hardcore about Jurassic Park 2.
I thought you meant in the trailer that we saw. But yeah, in Jurassic Park 1, yeah.
You gotta sing it with the lyrics. Oh my fucking god, fucking dinosaurs.
As Denny facepalms without his hand.
He's rolling his eyes really hard right now. His eyes are to the back of his head like the Undertaker. Don't choke slam me.
Okay, continue.
Game over.
Failure.
All right, so Danny, what were you saying?
I don't even remember anymore.
You're sober. Yeah. If anyone should remember, it's you.
I guess the premise in this one, from my understanding, is that they're gonna, after 4 attempts and fails, they finally decided to blow the island up, and now someone wants to save them.
To me, it looked like the island was blowing up due to natural circumstances, like a volcano is forming in the island. That's what it seemed like.
There's a volcano that's exploding, and that's why they need to get out of there. But
I know,
there's the bad dinosaurs there.
No, but
the carnivores are bad. The herbivores are good.
It's the dark side
volcano
dinosaurs.
Exploding.
Darthsaurus.
Darthosaurus.
Qui-Gon Brontosaurus.
But is the volcano exploding because of just natural disaster, or is the volcano exploding because the government went in there, fucking planted a bomb, and agitated the hell?
Where did you get that information from? That was
trailer.
not given to you in the prequel. I mean,
it was in the prequel.
in the trailer.
It was in the trailer. Yeah,
David, was that in the trailer?
Bro, they even showed it in the script.
I just saw the volcano exploding. That's all I saw.
No, because
it just said there's geological blah blahs, and then the mountain explodes and lava comes out.
The only other thing that it can be is that whole conversation, because it was a giant conversation. When they said whatever the hell they said about letting them survive or not. They realize the island is going to explode. Should we let them live, or should we save? Should we let them die, or should we save them?
Time out.
Hold the phone. Killer at 12 o'clock.
Mind is being blown.
I see it. I see your
Mind has
No,
been blown.
nobody got that.
I see your pineal gland splatting over your wall.
Good lord.
His pineal gland? What? Nobody got that reference though. Cool. Oh, he disappeared.
Oh, he disappeared.
That's how good it was.
His mind really got blown.
Fusion rifled.
My mind has been blown right now because I just realized the Disney-Fox merger means the greatest thing in the world. Are you prepared for the greatest thing in the world?
Mermaids?
Spider-Man and Deadpool.
Are you fucking kidding me?
I think my opinion
Mind
on the monopoly of Disney has changed completely.
You have to have changed completely.
Yes.
With the hijinks of Spider-Man versus Deadpool.
Oh my god.
God.
I cannot maintain my erection.
That is going to be so fucking good.
I mean,
because Tom
contained.
Holland plays a great Spider-Man. And obviously Ryan Reynolds was born to be Deadpool.
Born to be. Like, every freaking role was just like Deadpool undercover.
Yeah. Van Wilder is Deadpool.
It's Deadpool, yeah. It was Deadpool in college. Oh, God. Well,
Oh, look at this. Look, Chris Evans put out a tweet that said, so who do I talk to about a Captain America Human Torch buddy comedy spinoff?
he could be like Eddie Murphy and play every character in the movie.
Exactly.
He's got a good sense of humor. But Captain America doesn't have a sense of humor.
But Human Torch does.
Human Torch does.
It's like Buddy Cop. You got the serious one and the funny one, and they don't.
That's the part
work
that
well.
sucks.
They don't work well together, but they learn. They learn through trial.
I loved Chris Evans as the Human Torch. He did that great. I loved that.
As shitty as those movies were, he was like the saving grace. So if there was anything worth watching in those movies, it was him.
It's not Hal Jordan being the Human Torch.
Hal Jordan.
In that new version of the Fantastic Four.
Hal Jordan.
Yeah, Hal B. Jordan. The kid who plays Creed? Or Creed.
They gave us I
don't know why the hell
that new Fantastic Four movie was.
I heard Hal Jordan. I'm like the Green Lantern.
Isn't his name Hal B. Jordan?
I don't know what his name is.
Or am I getting it wrong?
I might be getting it wrong.
I really have no idea. Yeah, and
it's the Green Lantern. Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool and the Green Lantern.
And for like,
Dude,
that'd be
great. Can we just make movies for everybody who played like two different heroes and like have them be together? That'd be like room awesome.
Oh, but look at what Hugh Jackman said. I'm paraphrasing. He goes, for the whole 17 years, I thought it would be great to see Iron Man, Hulk, and Wolverine together. But then I was like, hang on. Unfortunately, the ship has sailed for me, but for someone else, I would like to see Wolverine in there.
Oh,
yeah. I was gonna say he's old, and look what he's doing now. He's doing The Greatest Showman. He's doing,
but he still looks
musicals.
fucking the same. He's ripped. He still
Dude,
looks super young.
He still works
No,
out.
did you see him in Logan? Man, that guy was leathered and old.
They made him look old.
That was specifically that was done on purpose. In fact, he was told not to work out. He like. Whatever he did, the most he did from what I heard was lifting like weights in between scenes or takes and just doing cardio. That's all he did on set. He was told not to work out extensively. But that's his thing. He loves to work out.
Yeah, I know. He was a very fit dude, man.
When Disney
X-Men 2, when he fucking goes berserker rage.
So that look was on purpose. It wasn't because he suddenly just lost his way. That's just how they told him to be.
Well, whatever. He's doing musicals now.
Disney bought Star Wars for $4 billion. Yeah. This deal with Fox is supposed to be $60 billion.
Well, that's probably how much they made since The Force Awakens. So.
Well, I just saw that The Last Jedi has pulled in $220 million so far.
Which is actually, it's fun. It's really funny. I hate the media and I hate journalism. I think journalism's dead because they always try to fucking spin things a certain way. They're saying it's the second highest opening ever to The Force Awakens, meaning it's performing worse than The Force Awakens.
Yeah, people are starting to get burnt out on Star Wars, especially when everything is a fucking tie-in. It's ridiculous. Everything with the cars, and then Walmart, and then Whatever you see on TV these days is an advertisement tied into Star Wars, and you're like, fucking hell, lay it off.
It's too much, and it's overbearing. I mean, still, let's call a spade a spade. That's not chump change. That's a shitload of money. But I think it is showing that there's some Star Wars fatigue starting to happen. I'm certainly feeling it. I know some other people that have been feeling it. And
bro, you guys are like late to the party here. I felt that like 10 years ago, 12 years ago, whenever the hell.
Well, you're weird. So
I'm refreshed now. That's why I'm like, all right, bring it on. Let's see what they got.
You're the exception to the rule. But like, look, you never were a Star Wars fan.
Yeah, I was a Star Wars fan.
Okay.
Was a Star Wars fan. Are you kidding me?
Really?
You don't remember because we weren't exactly hanging out back then, but I was a Star Wars fan.
Okay.
I was still a Star Wars fan with Episode 1. And even through Episode 1, I was able to deal with Jar Jar Binks, and I liked Episode 1 enough to be like, it's not a big deal to me. But Attack of the Clones and Return of the Sith, Revenge of the Sith, I was like, oh, man, this just sucked. Because I liked Darth Maul. I thought Darth Maul was cool, and I liked seeing Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. I thought it was a cool dynamic, but
I thought Revenge of the Sith was probably the best of the prequels, and Phantom Menace the worst.
Look, if you go back with hindsight, the little kid from Phantom Menace is terrible. The kid who plays Anakin. The pod racing shit sucks.
Jake Lloyd? Yeah.
But if you go back to Revenge of the Sith, that shit doesn't hold up at all because those fucking CG fight scenes in the lava and all that bullshit sucks so hard.
But I'm not talking about the CG
but the fight scene with Darth Maul is enough for me to salvage the Phantom Menace.
Yes.
The music, the song.
Oh, God, yeah. Duel of the Fates.
Duel of the Fates is fucking awesome.
Yeah, dude, you could do anything epically to that song, man. You could wash the dishes and play that music, and it would seem like you were saving the galaxy from grease and grime. I mean, that thing was awesome.
Why haven't they tied that to a Palmolive commercial?
Squeaky clean. But story
Mentos, the fresh maker.
Oh, God. but like even though the story was poorly executed, just the emotional depth of what happens in Revenge of the Sith is better than the entire plot of Phantom Menace. That Phantom Menace plot.
I don't know if we've covered this before, but did we ever talk about the actual theory about the true Phantom Menace?
Jar Jar?
Jar Jar being the true.
Oh yeah, we did.
I think we grazed it.
Whole story, if that were true, is just as good as the indoctrination theory. The indoctrination theory in Mass Effect is just as good as Jar Jar in being the Phantom Menace.
Okay, yeah. Now that we're kind of getting into it, yes, we've talked about this before. Yeah, you've talked about this before.
Yeah, and that would be a very, very cool story. And if you look at the Phantom Menace from that lens, you're like, whoa, this is actually kind of cool.
Playing off what you're saying, what would have been a very cool story? This is relevant to the topic. Would have been a very cool story. Actually taking what was in the Star Wars expanded universe and making film on those instead of the shit that we're dealing with now.
I wonder if there's like licensing issues because some of those people wrote this stuff and then they were approved by Lucasfilm and they weren't owned by Lucas. They were just maybe like Lucas, half licensed or something.
But Lucas, and listen, audience, please correct me. We're and any of us, if any of us say things that's incorrect, right now. Dude, correct us so that way we could get our shit straight. But from my understanding, the Star Wars novels and the entire expanded universe, he may have not been true, like very scrutinizing on it, but it had to have come across Lucas's desk. He had to have given his seal of approval on because it was considered canon, which is why there was in the Star Wars geek community a big uproar when Star Wars decided to obliterate the EU from being not the European Union, the expanded universe, from canon to make room for Rogue One and Force Awakens and Last Jedi, because it was established that these characters that we know and love, Luke Skywalker, Leia, Han, Chewie, Kyle, Mara Jade, they all had their roles to play, and they had all these epic stories that happened after Return of the Jedi, and it was all washed away to give us the one-dimensional stuff that we're dealing with now.
I just wonder if it's a licensing thing. Even though it's canon, there's different writers, there's different people involved. It's not like full ownership. Because I don't think any of the people that wrote Star Wars stuff that's part of the extended universe are, I could be wrong, I don't think any of those people are direct ownership of Lucasfilm. Like, that IP, they might have been like, we're using your characters when we're writing a new story for the extended universe, and yeah, it could be canon. But does that mean that Lucasfilm owned those stories immediately? They weren't hired by Lucasfilm to write that. They wrote it themselves. So maybe there's like some sort of licensing issue.
I don't know, because I would think that if I wrote, okay, just take one out of the bag. If I wrote Shadow of the Empire,
or Dark Forces, if you wrote Katarn's story.
Okay, fine. And then someone said, hey, we're going to, part of the thing, we're going to make Rogue One, but it's going to be based off of Kyle Katarn. And we want to use your book that you did, Dark Forces, to do it. I'll be like, fuck yeah, man. How much money are you going to give me?
I don't know. Was that the
Give
thing?
me an executive producer thing and blah, blah, blah.
Maybe it's not even about that. Maybe it's just that they wanted to have new stories out there and they wanted to change things in the way that they wanted so that they can milk it instead of replaying stuff that was there, and then the fans already know what the story is, and then it's like they wanted to surprise people and do something brand new.
And that's what it seems like it's doing. But let's be honest. Look, Danny, I don't think you ever got into this, but David, I know you and I, we love Knights of the Old Republic. We love Darth Revan. We love the whole story of the prodigal Jedi Knight. We know exactly what's going to happen. Okay, we could replay Knights of the Old Republic, and we find out that the character we're playing is Darth Revan, and we have to choose light or dark in the end, blah, blah, blah. Would you still not want to see that on film? If someone said, I'm going to make...
Spoiler alert. Come on.
Fuck you, man. Everybody, dude, it's how long ago has it been? But if somebody told you right now, hey, we're going to make a Knights of the Old Republic movie, and it's going to play off the light side version of Knights of the Old Republic, would you still watch it? Even though you know exactly what's going to happen?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Fuck, yes, exactly.
To see Darth Revan on screen and to have call-outs to Revan and all that kind of stuff, I'd be like, yeah, man, that's really cool.
Exactly. The thing is, here's the thing. True fans, like you and I, at least in this one respect, would still want to watch it just to experience it in a different medium, you know? And then while other people who don't know about it, this could be a way to introduce that story to them because they don't have the time to devote 35, 40, 60 hours to a video game and experience that story, but they could devote 2.5 hours to a film that, goes over it. So yeah, I don't buy that. You could have gone over these books, these movies, these games that were made by the fans and adopted as canon, and still have pleased true fans like you and I, and still have gotten new fans that they're doing now with the new trilogy.
I kind of feel like that they probably felt like the extended universe with Leia and Luke and Han and all these people. The extended universe as it existed, they weren't as old as they are now. So we lost a lot of the extended universe time period. And now we're at a point that's kind of in the middle towards end, I don't know, I'm just saying, of the extended universe. And they probably wanted to kick out all of these people so they could start the new generation and just have all new characters with all new stories.
And there you're right, because in the EU, I mean,
Luke is still in his prime.
It's still in his prime. Yeah, he's in his prime. This is literally post Jedi. He's not. The new films take place 30 years later. The EU would have taken place in between that time. Although there are books in the EU that have Luke's kids. Yes, Luke had kids. He had kids with Mara Jade. And what happens with them? So
Spoiler alert.
Dude, shut up. So there are some books and some fiction in the EU that do take place at the time where Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher, rest in peace, will be that age. And you could
Mark Hamill died?
Carrie Fisher, I said rest in peace.
I know, it just made it sound like it was both of them.
Disrespectful shit.
It made it sound like they both died. I was like,
spoiler alert.
That's kind of, I won't lie, that's kind of what I was hoping. I wasn't expecting to see Heir to the Empire on film, okay? But I kind of wanted to see, okay, we see Luke and he married Mara Jade and they have kids and Han and Leia
they could start it from there. They could start it from there.
Yeah,
they can still salvage that.
They could, yeah, exactly. They still could have salvaged the EU and played off of the EU, and yeah, we would have missed all these other cool stories, but it takes place here, and then they could have introduced these other characters because it could take place after Luke died or whatever.
I have I have no hope because since they shat
Not
on
even
Kyle,
a new hope.
No, after they shat on Kyle Katarn in Rogue One with the stealing of the Death Star plans, I'm like, there's no hope. There's no hope at all. They
I agree.
Wiped their ass with the extended universe.
I agree, and one of the reasons is because the Kyle Katarn story. I think I've mentioned this before, but I'll mention it again because I'm sorry, I love it, and David, I know you back me up on this. Just the Kyle Katarn story, that one character story, is fucking epic.
Because you know what's so cool about Kyle Katarn? He's Han Solo that becomes Luke Skywalker.
Exactly. He's like two characters combined. He's Han Skywalker.
Exactly. He's Luke Solo.
Rogue mercenary, ex-Imperial cadet, fucking amazing mercenary.
Han Skywalker.
Becomes God Jedi. I mean, what an amazing freaking story. With his own love interest, he falls to the dark side to the point where his apprentice has to fight him and save him.
What's a story, Adrian?
What a story, Kyle. I mean, Kyle Katarn's story arc in the whole Dark Forces Jedi Academy thing. I mean, it's fucking grand.
Because what's so cool about it when you played it back then is, well, I don't know. I'm judging it off the video games, not any written literature. But playing the video games, you play Dark Forces, and you're like, it's all first-person shooter. And then you go through the first quarter or three-quarter, like, I don't even remember. I think it's half to three-quarters of Dark Forces 2. And the whole thing is also first-person shooter until you're like, wait a second, you've got the Force. No, you can do this.
You start getting the Force at around level 4 when you go back to your dad's destroyed home and find his lightsaber. I remember all this shit.
Yeah, and all of that was super cool. And then when you get to Jedi Knight, then suddenly it's like, hot damn.
Oh, damn, man. And then
you do the Jedi trials and everything, and you're crushing them, and suddenly you're like, holy fuck, I was being a mercenary, and I'm a badass Jedi.
No, but you're missing out a point. Don't forget, at the end of Dark Forces 2, he basically, it kind of, well, X-Canon, fuck you, Disney, X-Canon, Legacy, it's the light side. So he basically gets the value of the Jedi after Malak does, and stops Malak. So he becomes fucking Jedi Godmaster to the point that rivals Luke, because Luke is supposed to be what they thought Anakin was. Again, we're going by EU. So Kyle Katarn is probably the only person in the universe that could rival Luke Skywalker, if not best him. And then he falls to the dark side while training Mara Jade, Luke's future wife. And then she has to redeem him. And then you have Jedi Knight, where at the end, it's like, dude, I'm too powerful, I'm too crazy, and if I fall to the dark side, the universe is fucked. So you know what? I reject the Jedi powers. And he asks Luke, help me put away my jet and put a block between me and my powers. Luke helps him do that, but then Jedi Knight happens. What's her name? What was the chick's name? His love interest.
I don't remember.
Oh God, Jan Ors.
Oh, that's right.
Jan Ors gets freaking murdered by what's his name, T-Rex looking guy.
Spoiler alert.
and then he has to rediscover his Jedi power, which again he instantly becomes like Jedi God, like immediately, because that's how strong Kyle is with the Force, and kicks ass. And then Kyle's story is so freaking awesome, cool. And Disney just was like, yeah, fuck that. Let's just make new characters and have them all die at the end of the movie.
The only thing that I find off with the extended universe and with Kyle and all that kind of stuff is that you have, like you said, Kyle is almost on par with Luke in terms of his strength. Then Kyle trains Mara Jade, who ends up marrying Luke, and they end up having kids. But you've got Luke, Kyle, and Mara, 3 super strong Jedi right there. You don't have anyone on the dark side to really match up to that.
Well, that was
the whole thing about Star Wars is balance to the Force. And right now, all of that is super balanced on the light side. So where's your dark side counterbalance?
Well, there were dark sides and dark side Jedis. Remember, you had Jarek that Kyle had to fight before. I mean, there were still dark Jedi out there.
Yeah, but all of them aren't even close to the strength of Luke. So you have to say that Luke is now off balancing the dark and the light too much to the light.
Yeah, which was one of the things that some people talked about back then. I remember as a kid hearing some people talking about the whole balancing of the Force and all that. But But I mean, again, the point was that me as a Star Wars fan, this is the Star Wars I grew up with. Before freaking every Mary suit, because dude, we went to the movie theater. We saw people there wearing Star Wars shirts, and you know they didn't know shit about Star Wars. If we'd said, "Who's Kakartan?" they would look at you like, "What the fuck is that?" Or, "What does TIE in TIE Fighter stand for?" And they would be like,
bow tie.
But bow tie, because they look like bow ties. No, a twin iron engine. God damn it!
It's because they look like bow ties.
Actually, it's two. They look like bow ties, but they are twin.
They had to write something to it.
Yeah. Anyways, Star Wars has become such a pop culture thing, and Disney is catering now to that pop culture phenomenon and basically giving the fans the finger, which I mean, I guess we'll talk about this later, but in my opinion, that's kind of what happened with Last Jedi. Last Jedi was the last. Yeah, like
I was about to say, we might as well. We've got enough Star Wars right now that we might as well just go into our impressions of The Last Jedi that we just finished watching. But also, if you guys want to stick around, right after this, we're going to end up doing a spoiler cast of The Last Jedi where we go in depth of all the crazy stuff that we liked and frustrated us about The Last Jedi. So for now, we're only going to do impressions. We're just going to go into like the general consensus of what we thought about The Last Jedi and where Star Wars is headed. But after that, then you're going to hear Adrian's true vitriol.
Yeah, you want to really hear what I think, stick around for the next one. But fine, let's go ahead and
let's just do general impressions of
general
the whole
impressions, and I think I mean
for starters, hold on. For starters, what do you think about the fucking little pigeon shit?
It's Disney putting in a cute character to make money off of.
That's what you think? That's it?
Yeah.
I suppose. I found it kind of distracting, to tell you the truth. There were scenes where I was like, it's a little bit too much, and maybe it's just because the trailer upped it so much that it couldn't feel like a novelty when I actually watched the movie. But
I mean, they were cute. There were some scenes where it's kind of like, okay, but it just felt overly done, a little bit forced. And
forced, you might say.
Yeah. As it's well as because one of the things that stood up and it happened with Force Awakens, but it happened more here with Last Jedi, is Disney's attempt at adding that extra humor. And you know what? Actually, let me give the devil its due. It wasn't just Disney. Lucas tried to overdo it, do it with the prequels as well, with little forced humor, but Disney's doing it on a different level. And
you said it during the movie that the humor seemed forced.
Some of the humor seemed forced when in the original trilogy it was a little more.
They were trying hard to be funny at times, and it didn't even feel like they were trying hard for the sake of Star Wars. It kind of felt like some executive said, "Look at what we're doing with the Marvel movies. Look how those movies are funny. Let's put some of those kind of jokes into Star Wars."
Yes, some of that humor, and we'll talk about this more in the spoiler one, where I could actually let go and talk specifics. But just like some of that humor just pulls you out of the movie and makes it seem less threatening, less dangerous, less epic, less real. Just kind of it's like a record scratch. It's just like, what?
Yeah, you're right. There were a lot of scenes like that where it's just kind of... Exactly. It doesn't feel grounded anymore. Even though as ungrounded and as crazy as Star Wars is, it still feels like you're witnessing something far, far away. Like it's a totally different galaxy. It's a totally different time period. And this world exists. But then when you have all those moments that seem like they're pandering to the crowd and they're doing all these record scratch funny moments, it just totally sucks you out of it, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah,
settle down.
It's almost inadvertently breaking the fourth wall. Like there was humor in the original 3 movies. There were moments that are funny, but it's not where it activates your brain in you as an audience. Like, I'm watching a film. I am a person here, and I'm watching a film. That's what happens in these new ones. In the original ones, it just works. It works in the context of the story. And now with these new movies and with, I mean, the beginning, that little humor bit in the beginning, just seems so out of place and just.
Well, speaking of the beginning, I mean, this isn't a spoiler because it's in the opening crawl, but the opening crawl's last sentence makes it. The opening crawl ends with an ellipsis. Like, are you fucking kidding me? that was like the worst opening crawl I've ever seen on a Star Wars film ever. Because you even commented on it, and you're like, if this is Empire Strikes Back, I'm gonna be pissed. And
the opening crawl kind of almost.
It's like they're coming and they're about to attack, and you're like, are you fucking serious right now? Force Awakens was A New Hope, and now Last Jedi is going to be The Empire Strikes Back. Get out of here with this shit.
Okay, but not to... But it wasn't. It wasn't.
No, yeah, they avoided that.
Although there were elements, and we'll talk about this later, but there were elements of... Emolence. Am I that drunk that am I slurring my speech?
No, he's just fucking with you.
Okay, I need to know, because I'm at that level where I may or may not.
He's just trolling you.
They were watching Swar Tours.
There were elements, but
the Just Jedi.
I still think that Last Jedi did a good job of not being too derivative of Empire, which was something that we were worried about. I still it's unique. It's unique in its own way. Yes, there's some elements, but it was unique enough. But I'm kind of curious. I mean, I think the least Star Wars of us all will be you, Danny. What was your impression?
Just impression.
My impression of it, yeah. I like the movies. I like the movie, but there was too many things that kind of felt like different. Like it seemed like they were going.
Please elaborate.
Well, I'm trying to elaborate without elaborating too much, but it just seemed like they were taking a completely different direction than how the original ones were going. And I completely understand why to a certain degree, but at the same time, there were just things that, for example, the humor in the beginning, that pulled me out of it completely. And then there was just things in the story that kind of didn't make any sense. And yeah,
I can't wait to do the spoiler cast to really rip into that shit. Stuff that doesn't make any fucking sense.
Like seriously, I'm just I'm being quiet because our spoiler cast is gonna be god.
Spoiler cast.
I'm laughing thinking about how pathetic it was because as I was watching the movie, I'm like, what the fuck am I looking at right now?
When does this happen in Star Wars?
The spoiler cast is
Disney.
Gonna be...
Now you're looking at now. This is happening to Star Wars. You can't
I kind of feel like the people that wrote it and started making the movie were like, how do we explain this? It doesn't matter. The people watching are morons. That's kind of what I felt like.
They're just going because of the title. Who cares? Just put it in there.
No. No, but David brings up a good point, and that's why I think there's such a, because, okay, I'm not gonna go into spoilers, but you listen to all the reviews and the main reaction of most people, and they love the movie, but then you go to like Reddit, which has Star Wars fans like myself.
Well, Rotten Tomatoes is killing it now. Like all the user reviews are really slamming it now.
Exactly. Most people who are familiar with Star Wars, grew up with Star Wars, know Shadows of the Empire, Heir to the Empire, know about all these other, where the story should have gone. Yeah. Right? They are killing it.
Who Snoke is and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, and what happened? We'll talk about this in the
no spoilers or anything because you see Snoke in the first movie, so you know he's in the second movie.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's like all of that stuff. That's stuff that's
the direction
really
that they decided to go with Snoke is poor storytelling. Just storytelling 101.
It's almost comical, especially when we go into what happens. I cringed watching the movie because I'm like, what? For real?
Well, without going into too many more spoilers, because we want to save all that for the spoiler.
Keep going.
Cast.
General impressions. What did you feel overall? 1 out of 10. 1 out of 10.
Okay, if you gotta put a scale onto it, I gotta give the devil its due. Again, it is not a bad movie. If you are a superficial Star Wars fan, if you're a pop culture Star Wars fan, if you like Star Wars because it's popular, it's a good movie. Now, if you're a true Star Wars fan, if you had any hope of seeing the characters you loved in the way they were embodied in the expanded universe, this movie is a punch in the nuts.
Now, here's my problem with that. Because we're constantly quantifying it, saying, if you're a Star Wars fan, you're probably going to hate it. If you're not a Star Wars fan, you're going to like it. I would say that 99.9998% condom percentage of people that I speak to, they, unless they're a Star Wars fan, say they don't like it. They're like, I'm not into those kinds of movies. So why are you going to try to pander to the people that already don't like the genre, don't like the type of movie that you're making, and then piss off all the people that are kind of giving you the money to keep making these fucking movies?
Well, because
it doesn't make sense to me.
Well, because David, that's
they're trying to convert people.
They're trying to, but the thing is, Star Wars has gone to the point where it's now a pulp culture thing. It used to, you go back 15 years ago and it wasn't. All right, if you talked about Star Wars, you were the nerd and looked down upon.
You still kind of are, to tell you the truth. You still kind of are. Now, Star Wars is not.
Dude, I work at a national big box luxury retailer, and not even 3 weeks ago we had a Star Wars party. Okay.
Yeah, but it's still
Star
not...
Wars has become no. Star Wars now has become pop culture. It used to not be. It used to be
I guess.
Culture.
Yeah.
It used to be geek culture. Lightsabers were something that only a geek would own. Now,
yeah, it's kind of like Star Trek.
Has. Yeah, exactly.
Star Trek is too far beyond. People aren't going to be like, I'm talking on my communicator and thinking that that's regular pop culture. No, Star Trek is still very much on the other side.
Exactly. It's Star Wars has crossed that field. And because of the prequels, I wouldn't blame this on Disney's acquisition of Star Wars. This happened because of the prequels, but it's again like you said, the true Star Wars fan. This movie, these new movies, that it's not for us. It's not for us. This is for people who actually liked Phantom Menace and enjoyed that shit that it was. And Attack of the Clones, and
because that's the problem. That's the problem right there. You're saying it, that all the true fans were like, yes, finally someone is taking this away from Lucas, and they're gonna put fans in charge of it to make it right after he fucked episodes 1 through 3. They're gonna make it right with episodes 7 through 9, and yet what we've got is a pandering towards the other side. Instead of them saying, let's please the people that love this shit already, let's try to pick up the new people that might not even know about it.
Yeah.
And that's a smart business move. But still, I feel like they're pandering so hard. Like the guy that we saw at the theater who's like, I'm not a big Star Wars fan. You guys didn't like it? And we were like, well, if you're not a big Star Wars fan, you're probably going to like it. I feel like that's true to guys. And this sounds like sexist and stuff, but guys typically are more open to these kinds of movies. The typical female that's not into geek culture is probably going to go and see it and be like, yeah, I don't know, whatever, fuck it.
No, I think
it's not going to make a lot of sense to them.
I think a typical film still would like it because of the overarching themes.
There are no overarching themes.
It's very like this movie plays to very broad emotional spectrums that both men and women could relate to, and that's I just find it too superficial, too basic. It's not as nuanced as the original trilogy. But again, this movie panders to people who think the prequels are great and the original is boring. And this is for people who think this movie's for people who think Return of the Jedi was a better film than Empire Strikes Back. Where I'm of the fact where Empire Strikes Back was probably the best of all Star Wars films.
It is. Empire Strikes Back is definitely the best Star Wars
film. As a film. Even a standalone film.
Return of the Jedi is a snooze fest. That shit is slow as a motherfucker.
I would say New Hope is slower.
New Hope gives you, has a carrot on the stick. New Hope has a carrot on the stick.
It does.
Return of the Jedi doesn't. Return of the Jedi is sitting in a swamp with Yoda, picking up fucking X-Wings. And that shit is boring.
That's Empire Strikes Back, dude.
No, that's also in Return of the Jedi, isn't it? Yeah, at the end of Return of the Jedi.
No, at the
end. You know what? Empire Strikes Back sucks.
What, the post-credit...
That's the thing. Empire Strikes Back is the one that starts with the AT-ATs.
Yeah, it has the whole
Luke escapes, meets Yoda, it picks up S-Wings and rocks.
Yes.
And then it ends with Cloud City. Luke gets his hand cut off, finds out Vader's his father.
And then Carbonite Han.
Han gets frozen in Carbonite, gets taken away by Boba Fett. It ends on a down note. And yes,
Return of the Jedi starts on the same thing with
I have
Jabba.
to say, I just quoted Dante Hicks in Clerks, and he said it correctly. Empire ends on a down note, and that's why it's so good. You think that everything's all good and hunky-dory, and it ends badly. Return of the Jedi, yes, it has a bunch of Ewoks, whatever. It's a little more PG and kiddie, but I mean, it starts off really well with Jabba the Hutt and Luke.
You're right. It's like I forgot that the whole crux of what I dislike about the Star Wars universe is the Yoda training shit, because that's so slow, and that wasn't Empire Strikes Back. But because the surrounding elements of Empire Strikes Back are so strong, I automatically associated that part with Revenge of the Jedi. I mean, Return of the Jedi.
Actually, that was the original title.
Yeah,
it was Revenge of the Jedi.
I know, I remember.
Yeah,
but
and remind me, when we go to the spoiler cast, let's revisit this because there's some things I want to pull from that into the new one. Yeah. But one of my favorite things about Jedi wasn't the Ewoks. Fuck the Ewoks. Just it caught a space battle correctly.
Yogurt, I love yogurt.
Even with strawberries? No, the space battle, like the TIE Swarm, where they realized that they were set up to a trap. They have to about face, and all those TIE interceptors and TIE fighters rain down on the Falcon and the like. I love the space battle in Jedi. That's what I always look forward to in Jedi. And then of course the fight with Luke and Vader, that last fight with Luke and Vader, where Vader's toying with Luke, and finally finds out, hey, you have a sister. I didn't. Okay, you have a sister. So if I can't turn you to the dark side, I'll turn her to the dark side. And then Luke fucking rages. And for that split minute, he's in the dark side. And he is wailing on Vader, overpowering Vader. The guy who cut his hand off, father versus son. And the son is beating the shit out of his dad. Cuts off his hand. And then finally catches himself. Like, dude, I'm not going to become my father. Turns off his lightsaber, throws it away, looks at the Emperor, the most powerful being in the universe, says, you're not going to turn me. That was fucking awesome.
And then there's fireworks in Ewok Land, and then you see the ghosts of Christmas past.
And forget the new song they put in the remastered version. You got to go to Yub Jub. You buy Yub Jub.
Oh my god. No,
come on. Yo, Jump, man. That's the best song in all Star Wars.
I feel like Star Wars 1 ended in a way where it's like the first Star Wars was the most complete film. Where it's kind of like, here's the story arc, here's how it ends, boom, the end.
It was supposed to.
Yeah. But then Star Wars 2, The Empire Strikes Back.
4, 5. But, well, that's the thing. Lucas meant for it to be kind of like the old 1950s serials, and yes, A New Hope was and when it came out, remember, it wasn't A New Hope, it was just Star Wars. It wasn't until they finally decided to make sequels where they put Episode 4 and he did all that shit, which is, you're 100% right. That's why A New Hope, out of all the other films, feels like it's the most complete, because it was supposed to be. It wasn't supposed to go on. That's it,
Yeah, that was your one and done.
Rebellion wins. Good guys win. They get the medals. Boom.
Yeah, the end.
The end.
The little
Danny,
ending.
Your input.
My input, man. You guys just stole the show with all this, with fucking going back to the originals and whatnot. I don't know. I'd liked. Oh crap! Empire Strikes Back. There we go.
Of course, I don't know any like level-headed adult that can talk bad about Empire, because yes, that was the downest movie, but it was the realest movie of the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Like seriously, it hit you on so many levels. But
well, it came at a time where that was impossible to think that there could be a movie that ends with the bad guys winning.
Yeah,
because that time Hollywood was always about the good guys win.
And not only ending, the whole movie was the bad guys winning. It starts with the rebels freaking getting kicked out of their freaking base. You're seeing good guys die left and right. They have to evacuate, and it ends with your favorite character getting frozen in carbonite, the main character getting his hand cut off, finding out, oh fuck, I'm this evil guy's son.
The thing is that...
And that's it! That's the end!
For us, it's one of those things that, in hindsight, for us, seeing the trilogy together, we could say the second one is our favorite. But can you imagine going to the theater and watching Empire Strikes Back for the first time? not knowing that there's going to be a third one, and it ends like that, and it's like all these cliffhangers and all this shit that's open-ended, and you're going to be like, what the fuck was that? What kind of ending is that?
Well, I do vaguely remember watching Empire for the first time. No. I wasn't at the theater. At home because my parents bought the movies, and I remember seeing. I remember the images. And I remember my emotions to it. And I remember with
you had just beaten Zelda at the time.
I just finished beating Zelda, and I was like, "Fuck." As my mom cleaned my diaper, I decided I wanted to watch Star Wars. And I remember the feeling. I remember watching A New Hope, Luke blow up the Death Star, get the medal, happy ending. I remember being happy. And I remember when I watched Jedi, big thing blows up, little bears dancing, happy song, happy. And I remember Empire and seeing everybody blow up and like, I'm your father. No! Ah,
yeah,
my heart
happy.
in my hand. And Han Solo on the carbonite with his little face. And I remember just feeling like, ugh. As a kid, I hated Empire Strikes Back. But as an adult, it's funny. It's funny how that changes when you're a kid. I loved New Hope, probably Jedi more, and Empire the least. And as I grew up and experienced life,
I think it's the exact opposite. You can like Empire because you know how it ends. If you saw Empire and that's where it ended, I don't think you would like Empire. You only like Empire because you know what the rest of the story arc entails, where Luke does come back to defeat him.
You make a great point, because unlike the prequel, and I don't think the new trilogy is doing this. The New Hope was a standalone. I think Lucas and the other directors did a fantastic job of kind of salvaging it and turning it into a good 3-act, epic, where everybody knows. I mean, Danny, we were taught by Seyfried. We know that second act is supposed to be the down act. It's supposed to be where everybody's at their lowest, and then you have the denouement in the final act. So when you look at it as like an opera, like as a space opera or whatever.
Well, in script writing, it's supposed to be, "Woe is me," WOE, and then it's supposed to be, "Whoa, it's me." Those are the two flips. So as you're coming into Act 2, it's the "Woe is me," I'm all depressed, everything's fucked in life.
Well, that's what happened with Empire.
Act 3, it's "Whoa, it's me, I'm the problem here, I've got to fix this."
Well, that's what happened with Empire. It was, "Woe is me, my father's Darth Vader. Oh my gosh, I don't have a hand. My best friend's in stone. Blah blah blah. We got kicked out of our base." And in Return of the Jedi, it's like, "Whoa, I'm the fucking Jedi. I made a new fucking lightsaber. I'm gonna kick ass. Dad, I'm gonna beat your ass down if you're not gonna freaking go back to the light side." I mean, it happened, and that's why it went so well. That's why it's still fucking timeless. It's one of the best trilogies ever made. It's the trilogy next to Lord of the Rings, but and Back to the Future. But
I'm not a big fan of Lotra, but don't even get me started on that.
We'll talk about that later, because we gotta get to spoiler cast.
Okay, so final call. Danny, 1 out of 10. Last Jedi.
The Last Jedi, 1 out of 10. I guess I'd have to give it a 6.5.
6.5 out of 10.
I will echo Danny. 6.5. It's not bad, but it's not great.
I'll give it a 3 out of 5.
Wow. Wait. Hold on.
I said 3 out of 5.
He said 3 out of 5. I think both you
That's
and
a 6 out of 10. So we're close.
So, wait.
We're in the same ballpark.
Before we sign off and go into the spoiler cast, just to give our audience and each other some perspective, what is a 1 in your category and a 10 in your category? David, you go first.
The 1 is The Room.
I disagree.
That's a -1, maybe. Let's see. A movie that's a 10 for me? God, I can't think of a movie that's a 10 for me right now, but a TV series that just totally blew my balls off was probably Flesh and Bone. It's a series that not a lot of people have seen. It was on Stars. It was like a mini series about ballet, and that shit fucking blew my mind. And the reason they're not doing more seasons of it is because it was so expensive to produce. And it's a ballet show, not CG, not a bunch of horse shit. It's a story about the New York City Ballet. And that show was so fucking good, and the acting was so spot on, that I say that was a fucking straight up 10. I couldn't imagine anything better than that.
Well, for me, I mean, I'm about half a bottle of whiskey in, so bear with me. I would say a 1 for me would be like the type of humor and cinematography of White Girls.
Oh yeah, that is like a 1 or a 0.
Yeah. And a 10. Again, it's hard to pick out a 10, but this is one of my favorite movies. I'll give you 2. I'll give you 2 10s in my book. Inception
Rocky.
and
That's a good one.
Rocky, probably an 8 or a 9. For me, a 10. Inception and Fight Club are definitely up there. Those are my 10s. So you know my spectrum: 1 White Girls, 10 Fight Club, Inception.
I
Danny,
give those both
what's your-
9s. Yeah.
What's your spectrum? Define your spectrum.
Mine would be. I don't even. Oh, jeez.
WrestleMania.
The Undertaker's return.
No. Yeah, WrestleMania 20, and then when the Undertaker returned to the dark side. Or 1994, Undertaker versus Undertaker.
Hey, I remember that.
Yes.
Purple versus gray.
Yep.
Palette swap.
The palette swap, and then I guess the peak would be the Ministry, 1999.
Really?
When
You
they
like the
crucified
Ministry?
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
When they crucified Stone, when he had the whole
I loved Undertaker
But-
as a kid, but the
but
Ministry
before
kinda
the
killed it for me.
corporate stuff, like full on Ministry, before the corporate stuff.
Wait, are you being serious? This is your spectrum? Give us
No,
films.
no,
Okay,
you
good.
fucking
Give
started
us
me off
films.
with that, so I was
That
going
was
with
my
it.
favorite part of wrestling, because that part was a lot of fun when you had Stone Cold and The Rock and you had The Undertaker and everyone was kind of in their prime and everyone's having
That
a good
was
time
good
together.
wrestling, wasn't it? Right?
Yep,
That was
yep.
good.
That was the
Bro, I
best
was
of
like, I
wrestling.
had the perfect shirt on for that today.
Come on, I want to get into the spoiler cast before I pass out from all this
Alright.
whiskey.
Alright,
Danny,
alright.
you 1 film and a 10 film. Go.
All right, I guess my one film would have to be. I know there's more than one, but the one that just to this day it's like etched in like the back of my skull. I can't get it away. Is oh man, I think it was Scary Movie 3, where I literally took it out of the thing, put it back. I got like 10 minutes into it, and I went back to Blockbuster and I returned it immediately. That's my one.
That's a 1. Okay, Scary Movie
That's-
3, a 1. Cool.
Yeah.
What's
And
a 10?
then my 10 would have to be wow. Okay, that one's not easy for me either because there's quite a few. Adrian, you named a few of those.
Hey, if you agree with me, that's fine.
Dude, 100%. But then
Which one? Fight Club or Inception? Which one did you agree with?
yes.
Both?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
I,
All right,
feel
so
like, I feel like Fight Club is a much stronger movie than Inception.
I like them both, but for different reasons that we could get on at a different time. But I think they still both reach that pinnacle of filmmaking, again, for different reasons because they're 2 different films.
Because I feel like Inception abandons the brain part of it, like the whole mental, the highbrowed intelligence of the film, to boil it down to basic action film at times. Whereas Fight Club, the whole way through, is playing this fine line of like, what are we really going for? And it's a lot. You have to be a lot more intellectual to follow Fight Club to the end than you do Inception, where Inception just at times feels like that's what Inception does right. I feel like that's really smart of them.
Yeah.
They made it
That's why I
lowbrow
give it a
enough
10.
for the common denominator to really love it, and then they made it highbrow enough for the people that are looking for the intellectual shit to be like, "Whoa, man, that was a fucking
be satisfied
mind-bender."
as well.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That
which
does. Yeah, you're right.
Which is why I give it a 10 because in that aspect. And I give it a 10. I give Fight Club a 10 because, yeah, a lowbrow person won't be able to understand Fight Club completely. I mean, most people thought it was just a movie about violence. It's more than that.
Yeah.
It's talking about the stagnation of an entire generation and what they need to do to feel alive, and also the state of mental health of certain people.
I got a 10. I got a 10.
I won't lie.
Snatch.
Fight Club.
Snatch is a 10.
Snatch is another
8.
10.
For me, Snatch is an 8, but it's up there. I mean,
Snatch is a 10 because of one line. You like dags?
You like dags? You put,
but I'm not gonna. I won't lie. Fight
you
Club.
put Gorgeous George in a bare knuckle boxing match. What the fuck did you think was gonna happen?
It's Guy Ritchie makes really fun, like his directing style.
He has a great style of directing. Guy
Yes,
Ritchie.
that's what I really appreciate about his films. His directing and editing choices are just fucking spot on, and I love them. And every time I see something by Guy Ritchie, I'm like, holy fuck, dude, you nailed it again.
But I because I've seen many Guy Ritchie films, and I still believe that Snatch was his pinnacle. Like he had everything.
It was
right
a funny
with Snatch.
angle.
It was a
What do you
funny
mean it was
angle.
a funny angle? It's not like it was a bag of fucking peanuts.
You're not trying to land a jumbo fucking jet in there.
That's so great. That's a 10. That is another 10 for me.
But the thing is,
But-
the reason why I give Fight Club like probably the highest marks of almost any film, and again, I'll admit this is biased. Fight Club did change my perspective on life completely. And
When you realized you were actually talking to someone who didn't exist.
I am Tyler Durden in Tyler I trust. When you're talking about,
I'm actually not here.
no. When I try to apply it like whenever I get into like a crisis state, but it's like let go of the shit that doesn't matter. Really just let go. And if you hit bottom, you know what? Treat it as a fucking blessing because there's nowhere to go but up.
No, I think you could always keep going further downhill.
I guess
Remember, at the bottom of the hill is the ocean.
Record
and you can
scratch
throw up
right
on
there.
bottom of the
David
hill.
had to fuck everything up.
the bottom of the hill is the ocean, and then below the ocean is just
Magma.
you go magma.
Magma and iron core.
Exactly.
All right.
I guess the ones I hold dear are Back to the Future and The Matrix, and then that's it.
So I feel like we got pretty hardcore about a numerous amounts of...
We did,
films
but you know
and
what?
everything.
It's time to go into spoiler cast on.
Okay,
Last
so
Jedi.
I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up on this episode of our podcast. We're three childhood friends whose motto is just good enough. We're hardcore about a variety of topics, but too casual to be experts at any of them. Be sure to join us next time on this journey of mediocrity. I'm David.
I'm Adrian.
I'm Danny.
If you guys stick around, we're going to be doing episode, I think this is 13, and it's going to be 13 and a half.
14.
Oh, this is 14. So then we're going to do 14 and a half as the spoiler cast for Star Wars The Last Jedi. If you want to roll right into the next one, then join us because the next one is going to be a doozy if you've seen The Last Jedi because you're going to hear all kinds of crazy commentary. So, see you soon. Thanks for joining us.
I cannot maintain my erection.